I think, yeah, like when we started filming this series, we really wanted every episode to start with something like kind of impactful and like physical and like that would really grab your attention. Obviously the first video I think went down really well with the smashing up the office thing, and then this one we went up on the roof and we kind of like hit some fruit with like golf clubs, and it was just a bit crap. So instead, you know, we were kind of creatively barren, and we just decided we'd have some awesome lasers or shit come like flying out of this mug.
Tom came to me and said that the project was too much for him at that particular stage with Ollie Ollie 2, and asked me if I wanted to do it.
I've always appreciated Tom's unwavering honesty on a project, and he explicitly said he would rather be stung to death by wasps than ever work with me again.
And obviously I jumped at it.
I think it'd be fair to say that while Simon likes to think that he's an organised human that has everything under control, he actually has no idea what he's doing.
I think John sent me a build at some point, and one of the problems we'd had with Not Hero was it was difficult to see when you're in cover because it was completely flat 2D. So he built these columns within the building, and even though you looked straight on, you could see both sides of the pillar. Not only was that just not possible, it just looked f***ing crap. You know, I had a very frank call with John when I told him, you're the worst artist I've ever had the misfortune to work with.
We needed an artist to really support John. We searched around and managed to find someone with a lot of experience, done a lot of pixel work, and that was Jake Hollings.
Simon asked me to work on the project doing pixel art, and I'm pretty sure that he got me mixed up with another potential applicant because I'd never really done pixel art before.
Steve's first character went into the game.
He is your standard man with gun.
In many ways he's like the guy that we used to prove the mechanics of the game. It's kind of weird, everyone seems to think he has a beard, but he doesn't. He's wearing a balaclava. But yeah, he's still my favourite. Like, he was the one that it was like, you need to kind of try and make sure that every level is doable with Steve. It just seemed fitting to make him like a Cockney, basically. He's sort of a Danny Dyer type character.
He's a bit of an idiot, to be honest.
Your classic terrible action hero.
But he's also Bunny Lord's best friend, so he's close to our heart.
Clive is an understated British gent in a suit. He is chain-smoking, dual-wielding legend, and he is my favourite character.
He was actually in You're Not a Hero as well, the prototype we made, and he hasn't actually changed at all since that prototype. He's quite elegant with the way he plays. He just kind of does this nice little slide, and he touches the door, it just goes flying across the screen. His reload is just the most badass thing in the game.
Drop your weapon!
Like, he's always been the guy with two guns, the guy that could shoot both ways. I'd always intended him to be like a sort of like Chow Yun-Fat in John Woo movies reference, but when people played it, they always seem to think it's a reference to like Max Payne. So he's like Max Young-Fat, I guess, or Chow Yun-Payne. Stanley originally wasn't Stanley, so all of the weapon power-ups, instead of being like crates and boxes, were Stanley, and you'd walk up to him and he'd give you a gun. And his idle animation, he had this like awesome like throw, right, and he'd like bob and it would bob backwards and forwards, and I think we basically were just like, kind of want to be able to play as him.
A lot of his animations were based on Zach from secondary school, and he was sitting in front of me in French class, and we'd sit there with coloured pencils and sneak them into his afro and see how many we could get in before they start falling out or before he noticed. So Stanley was based on him in the fact that when he reloads he pulls a cartridge out of his hair, or when he executes people he pulls a machete out of his hair. So I just kind of wanted to play with that, really.
It sort of made sense that he had the most kick-ass gun out of all of the characters, hence why he has an assault rifle.
Man getting murked!
I think there's a huge gap in the market at the moment for violent games. I mean, you know, when I talk to most people about games, they mainly play Pong Mario Kart, which is a racing game, but there's no violent games where you can either shoot or murder people at the moment. So I'm really hoping that the press and the fans are going to pick up on that as something really unique, that they can, a new experience, that's something they've never done before. You know, murder someone in a computer game. Radical.
Obviously, when you start out with a video game, you have a world of possibilities for where it could be set. Like, is it in space? Is it under the sea? Is it all based in a recycling plant in Dagenham?
So, Not a Hero is a very English game, and we wanted it to reflect, you know, where we live and how we've grown up and our kind of cultural references. There's also these huge tax breaks that were brought in by the government last year that mean if you do a game based in England, then you get lots of money back. But that wasn't our main driver whatsoever.
I think the inspiration for where to set the game really came from a weekend I spent in Birmingham. It's incredible, like Birmingham's split into 3 districts in the city, and they've painted pretty much everything in each district a different colour. So when you're in South Birmingham, literally everything, pavements, streets, buildings, signs are all purple. And if you go to the kind of hip east bit of Birmingham, everything's been painted green. They use green tarmac on the roads, they use green signs, green buildings. And it's amazing, it's an incredibly vibrant, colourful place. Such a unique part of the world to reference in a video game. So many games, especially action games, you expect to play an American and you expect it to be set either in like generic America or like generic foreign bad guy land, yeah? Like other culture land. And that's fine then, because they're people we don't live near that we're killing. There's not a huge number of video games set in England with English characters.
Who the hell are you? Bunny, what? Oh! 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 What do you want? Oh, no! Please, not the fish! Please, no! Ah!